on July 18th, 2023. And for roll call, just a second, let me look at my agenda here. Roll call by recording secretary.
We have Terry, Andy, Ted, Ryan, and myself, Abby.
And Judy's gonna be participating through Zoom because of the flash flooding situation over there. Okay. Considerations of any changes, additions, or removals. Opening statement by chair. I have new people here, so I'm gonna definitely read my statement, even though they seem like a very orderly bunch. Welcome. It's so nice to have citizens here today. Your comments are welcome at any time during the meeting by raising your hand or being recognized by the chair, except during our work agenda items, which today are items 7 and 8. That's what they usually are. We also may ask for citizens' comments before voting on a motion during the discussion period, after the discussion period. During the discussion period. There's no point, however, in being repetitious. Once we've heard it, it's been noted, and we can move on. I encourage all board members to comment and ask questions throughout the meeting. And so is the Zoom open now for Martha?
It looks like she's in there.
Yeah, that's right.
Ask her if she can hear you.
I just wonder if Judy and Steve wanted to participate that way too. Martha, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Sounds good. Okay, approval of minutes from the June meeting minutes. They weren't emailed to everybody, but they were online. That's where I read them.
Got it. Just a couple of nits. Andy with an I, please.
Oh, sure, thank you.
No problem. And I thought it might be helpful to identify people like Martha who, pointing this guy, who are sort of helping us with the meeting from regional planning, but that's optional. And I had a correction, hang on, please. On page 6, at the top it says, we were talking about who would build affordable housing, and I mentioned it says, depending on the incentives, I said we need to encourage this and enforce it. When I say every 5th development has to be affordable housing, it was for an example, so if we could put for example before that.
Okay.
And just development unit. Thank you, otherwise I'm good.
Ted, Ryan, did you guys have anything?
I did not. I'm good.
I think I had a missing period somewhere, but I'm not gonna waste our time looking for it because it wasn't important. Okay,
I move to approve the June minutes as
Second.
amended.
all those in
Seconded.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Comments from citizens. 5 minutes is so nice to see so many citizens. There's many times we've panned over there and there's been no one there. Yes.
I'll go first. Do you guys want me to state my name just so it's on the
Yeah.
record?
correct.
All right. Marissa Selleck, Ludlow resident. I'm on the independent school committee for Expeditionary School at Black River, and I just wanted to share that it'll be 3 weeks ago this Thursday, the state had finally put together some meetings and approved. They did the official approval for the independent school. There's a few things we have to follow up on, like now that we know we have funding, we have to get our butts in gear and hire staff. So there's a few things like that we have to show them by August 11th, so it's still a lot of work, but they gave us the approval, so the education tax dollars will be able to be used at the school finally.
That's great news.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so we're
That's
just trying
great.
to share
That's
with
great.
everybody. We're gonna expand to about up to 40 students is what we wrote down on the application. So that's to start with for our first year as an official approved independent school. And then the other hat is the rec committee. We just had our meeting. So there might be a few things we'll share with that we're trying to figure out consolidating with all the damage that has gone on. I might have to leave. I'm house sitting for work and going in 5 different directions. But if you guys have any questions, feel free
I'm
to reach
just
out.
looking at my phone
And I
because
think
Judy
Sure.
and Rose can't get on. I sent them the link that Patrick gave me, but let me see. You said you just sent me the link?
Yeah.
For them?
That's wonderful.
Yeah, that's great.
That was hard fought and long fought.
yeah,
Yes.
years longer than it should have been,
Yeah.
but
That's great.
yeah, we definitely will.
Okay, I'm gonna forward them this link right now, so. I wonder why nobody was up there.
So in the meantime, if anybody knows a Spanish or a math teacher, I think that's the two other
So
curriculums we need covered.
is-
We need to hire by August 11th, math and Spanish.
Okay, hopefully they'll be able to get on now. Are there any other comments from citizens? Eric?
Good one. My comments are directed really towards agenda item number 8, the rules and procedures. This has been discussed in a few meetings, and, I'll sort of reiterate what I said a couple of times. First off, I think the planning commission doesn't have the authority to make those changes, and I wonder why they would even want to make those changes. I think historically it's shown in Ludlow that these positions can be difficult to fill at times. So I'm unsure why a board would want to make it more difficult to fill those positions. Why would you want to exclude somebody that might have a skill set that worked perfectly, planning, construction, town planning, municipal, any of those sort of skill sets? It doesn't, I guess I just don't understand why you would want to make it more difficult. And I think ultimately the select board makes those decisions. So it's been mentioned in the meeting here, well, we're just gonna go with it and see what happens. I think that's short-sighted, honestly. And, the current makeup of the board shows that you have a resident from outside of Ludlow, so you needed that option to be able to fill that. And if it seems like there's an unfounded concern that somehow, an outsider is going to infiltrate the town and take over. The statute allows for that, has protections for that. The statute clearly states that majority has to be Ludlow residents. So to spend even a minute of time trying to make it more difficult for someone to join a board and participate, obviously the reason they participate is because they care about the town. I just think it's time that's poorly spent. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We'll discuss that on Article 8. Are there any other citizen comments? Okay, moving on. Municipal planning grant. First thing we're going to talk about is streamlining the permitting process, which is part of our grant that we have with the Regional Planning Commission. And Martha's going to share her chart over at that screen, which I think they're going to put the camera on. Martha, are you all set?
Getting there.
Okay.
Let's see.
I just want to make sure you guys can see her chart. Can you see her chart? We have
We can zoom in.
yeah.
Scroll up. Okay, so what we're looking at here is on the left-hand side, there's a list of uses that are either permitted or conditional in one or more of the districts, and the districts are across the top. The Historic Preservation District, the Village Residential District, Village Residential 2, which is a proposed new district, and then Village Residential Commercial. And then along the side, I just had made some notes of things to think about or talk about. The first one is pretty straightforward, single unit dwellings. They're permitted use in all the districts, so there's not really anything to talk about there. 2-unit dwellings were conditional in the Historic Preservation District, but the new state law, Act 47, requires that 2-unit dwellings be a permitted use on the, basically with the same criteria as a single unit dwelling. So that has to change. Accessory uses under different districts, some it says accessory uses, some it says accessory use or building or structure. I just mainly wanted to suggest a consistent terminology. So I would suggest accessory use or structure for all the districts.
and stop me if you want to jump in. Accessory apartment has been the term that you've been using. The state term is accessory dwelling unit. So I just wanted to suggest that you consider changing that to avoid confusion. And it's not currently allowed in the preservation district. And again, state law requires that.
So sorry, so accessory use building or structure, accessory apartment / dwelling, those are all ADUs. And we should change the language to
One
reflect
extra copy of this available.
all ADUs for all those.
Well, accessory use could be, that doesn't have to be an accessory dwelling. An accessory structure could be a shed or a garage or something.
Okay.
So it's okay to have a separate accessory use or structure. I was just trying to suggest that whatever terminology you want to use for those, just be consistent. And then accessory dwelling, I think, is just more recognizable in the state than, everyone knows what an apartment is, which is probably why that's what the term you were using. But to avoid confusion with accessory dwelling, I just think might be helpful to switch. Agriculture and forestry, that's a little, hello?
Good, sorry.
Okay, so we are agreeing to change those definitions to comply with the state?
Yeah, not for I think for accessory apartment, change to accessory dwelling unit. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you
No
need
way
to
it's
make,
consistent.
Agreed.
Agreed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
It's definitely a change we're gonna make then.
and you need to make it permitted. I'm just going to drop that in. I assume you also want accessory uses and structures to be permitted in all the districts. So,
Yep, so an ADU has to be permitted in the historic preservation district, and as of right now, it's not.
correct. So I just added it.
And I'm sorry, and you said it's required by law, even if we don't even need a debate, right? It's now required by law, or did I misunderstand?
Is it
Yes,
required
it's required as a result of Act 47.
Okay.
even in the historic district?
So
As far as I know, there's no exceptions.
it's all areas with municipal water and sewer, correct?
Correct. And residential areas with water and sewer. And if you're allowing single unit dwellings, then you also have to allow accessory
I
dwellings.
talk to the people that are participating. We're trying to sort of combining those two items of streamlining the permitting process and the state housing bill. Because the state housing bill passed and a lot of stuff became in effect, and they rule over us on these decisions on July 1st. So we're kind of playing catch up tonight with that. And so at the same time, we're looking at that and making those changes along with streamlining the permitting process at the same time, because we have to make them anyway. We don't have any choice.
Well, I do want to pull up the document itself with you and share some language with you that I put in there for consideration to comply with Act 47, but I would do that after we go through the chart.
I can put the chart up there when she's talking about it too.
Sounds good, Martha. Thank you.
Okay, so agriculture and forestry, it's often exempt if it meets the required agricultural practices and the required silvicultural practices. It's exempt. So, but there are situations where you may have a small farm or something that doesn't meet the criteria. And in that case, maybe you want to have it be a permitted use. Maybe you wouldn't have it in the residential commercial area because probably no one wants to have a logging operation or a farm there, I'm guessing, but maybe it could be in the one of the residential districts. So I'll leave it up to you if you want to include that as a permitted use, and then we can put in some language about it would only apply if it's a small farm that doesn't meet the required agricultural practices. For home occupations, we can look at this separately, but the language under home occupations says that they can be in an attached accessory structure, but not in a detached accessory structure. So I just had a question about that. I wasn't sure what the reasoning was for that. And that may have happened a long time ago, and maybe none of you were on the planning commission then. So,
So I'm sorry, Martha, is there, I see a yellow with the P for the village residential 2, but is it on here to just discuss why it was one or the other? Or both?
the yellow is changes. So everything under village residential is going to be yellow because that's a whole new district.
So
I just had it as a separate question, and we can talk about it later when I pull the document up if you want. It just says that home occupations have to be in the residence or in an attached structure, can't be in a detached structure, which is, I just wondered why.
yeah, I kind of wonder why as well. Should we? I think that's something I would like to see changed. You know, as home occupation, you have a detached structure. I don't see why that would be restricted.
Yeah, I don't either. What do you guys think?
It should be able to go both ways.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So, good. Professional service. Seems to be referring to things like a doctor's office, an architect's office, something like that, that is not located in the residence, which is conditional in historic preservation and not in the residential areas, which maybe makes sense because if it is in the residential area, presumably it would be what you guys call a professional office / residence.
So
Professional service.
So to me, that means a professional service would be a building that was originally constructed as a home that is now like a dentist office, doctor's office, and the owner does not reside on the property.
Mm-hmm. But there may be an apartment or something there also.
It would be the use of the property as an office.
And
Lawyer, architect.
you asked what should say SP meant.
SP, data.
Because it's saying in the
site plan / administrative.
okay,
review.
site plan administrative review.
Yep.
And that's something we put in there when Alan Couch and that board, when we were all together in that board, we put it into an administrative review section. It hasn't been approved by the trustees, but that's where it is right now.
Right. It's formally conditioned.
I mean,
Formally conditional. So this is a move you're recommending, or this is what we already put this in the administrative review?
This was already not approved, but it's already in there.
In the administrative review, okay.
so I'm sorry, Martha, just to be clear, when something is in yellow, these are changes that either the state is requiring for us to be consistent, with the state. That's part of this, and some of this is in draft but hasn't been approved. Is that what the yellow means?
Yeah, it's different from what your current regulations say.
And let's have Rose. Rose, do you want to weigh in on anything we've talked about so far? About the yellow proposed districts? I saw her over there.
She took the laptop. She did the laptop.
She's,
She's trying to connect people and trying to connect.
I sent her the new link. I thought there was only one, but apparently there's not. I emailed them the new link. I forwarded it. It's really bad.
I do hear someone talking. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, meeting. I sent them the new Zoom, the one, Rebecca, you sent it to me, right? Rebecca Fontaine?
She's out.
She sent it to me though. That's the one she sent me that is the correct Zoom.
And it's
I sent it to them. I don't know why they can't get on. She just gave it to me.
So as far as professional service, do we want to potentially come back to that, or do we want to? What do we think?
I don't think so. What do you guys think? Seems like that's a reasonable thing to be able to send for administrative review for the site plan.
Yeah.
Dr. Stennis' office.
Yeah. Marking and all that stuff.
Okay, we're ready to move on.
So, but let me ask you
Yeah, go ahead,
something.
Andy.
When you turn into a professional service, can you then, you still have to comply with all the building requirements for the residential or other, let's say it's in this resident, it was resident, so you have to still comply with residents. So it can't be X amount of feet, it's got to be a number of parking. How do you, but we don't deal with parking for.
Rose does that. Rose, the administrative review, she would
Right.
make sure they meet fire codes and, that they have their parking spaces and.
Right.
Rose was
So that is just the use, it's not
I
all
wish
the
I
other.
wish you could talk to us.
Why don't we table this for a moment just so that we can.
I know, we really need to be able to talk to us, and I don't know what to do about it, because this is the brand new Zoom that she just sent me, and I've sent it to them twice.
That's right. We'll
They
start.
said they used the link and it's not worked, then they're still waiting.
We'll start in.
So is somebody not letting them in?
To my understanding, it'd be the plans.
I'm here.
So you plan to make a doctor's office as a functional.
You're here, Rose? It's Judy.
No, it's Judy.
So you're in
I
it?
just went out and did it again and got in.
Okay, well, I'm gonna tell Rose to do
Can
that.
anybody text Rose and tell her
Yeah, I'll
that?
text her and tell her that.
Tell her to go out and then click the link that you sent, Terry.
Yeah, because we waited a really long time to have her here, because this is what she does.
There's Steve.
Oh, shoot, I gotta go copy the link first.
Well, if they already have it, they just need to get out.
Oh, yeah,
and come back.
duh. I just gotta text, okay, thanks. Okay, Rose.
Did you start the meeting already? Looks like
Yeah.
it. No, I don't blame you. I'm not offended.
Judy got in and by
Steve is here.
Yeah, I know.
just by re-clicking the Zoom, right?
Yeah, I don't know what changed. I went in and out like 3 times.
I'm pretty sure Rose probably read all, looked through this whole thing already too. Judy got in by re-clicking the Zoom link. Okay, send her text.
May I suggest that we go on to the others table that one and come back when she hopefully gets on?
Go on to our,
No, these others, unless you want to.
yeah, let's go
If you want
on.
to include her on all of these, then we can just change the order. It's up to you.
Right, and I'm sure she's already looked them over and can weigh in when we get done with our business. I'm looking at it. All right, so go ahead, Martha, we're on daycare center, right?
Yes, and the only comment I really had was in your regulations, it says daycare center, child or adult, and the state looks separately at childcare facilities. And so I would suggest changing the terminology to child care facility and then list adult daycare separately, since the state's very specific about their definitions for child care facility. And they, there isn't an official definition or anything for adult daycare.
And I'm sorry, so do we have separate regs for us, or it's just the state that has it separate? Because if we don't, it can stay the same.
Well,
it's just that there are certain things that the state requires.
so for example, a child daycare, we can't restrict, correct, anywhere? Or am I wrong in that?
We are restricting it because this is a conditional use
I didn't think we could.
in the historic district and the village residential district right now. Martha, do you want me to make these changes on the chart as we go? Or are you just taking notes?
Yes, I did up here. I just mentally did this one. I'll just add a yes.
Okay, do you want me to make the changes in the chart as we go?
No.
No, you don't?
I'll do that.
Okay.
No.
So we're just taking out the child part of that and adding child daycare center. So what are we thinking about the historic district and the village residential? Do we want that a conditional use, the child daycare center? Or do you think that's something we can
Are we
move
allowed
to do?
So Martha, could you answer that, my question? Are we able to restrict child daycare in any districts? I thought we couldn't per state law.
There are two different things. There's a child care home, which is you have to allow, and there's a child care facility, which you can have as a conditional use. So down below here, you have it as home child care. Child care home is the terminology that the state uses.
Oh, yeah, that's
But you have to allow that. So you have to allow that in the preservation district where it's not currently allowed.
Yep. So a daycare center, child daycare center, that would be a larger commercial facility?
Correct.
Okay, so that's why it's conditional.
I think you should allow it. There's such a shortage of centers for parents in the state that if somebody wants to open one up, I think we should allow it under conditional use.
In
Well,
the
it's allowed
VR.
under conditional use.
That's how it is now.
Pardon me?
It is allowed under conditional use.
Yeah, so I think we should leave it there.
Okay.
Yep.
Looks like we agree on that.
And that's for the
Village residential too.
Yeah, that's the Andover Street line so far. That's all that.
So why wouldn't we allow that? I guess
It's okay with me
why do we separate?
as a conditional use. What do you guys think
Yeah, we'd be
And,
conditional use across the board.
Yeah.
in the new district that we, okay, we designed for Andover Street? All right, and I see we have it as a administrative review in the Village RC district. So it's a little bit more lax in that district, which is fine. Right? What do you guys think?
actually you did have it under the VR2. You were just calling it something else. So
Right.
I'm sorry, is it for the Village RC? That's what I'm not clear about how to read this chart. Is it currently not allowed and we're recommending site plan administrative review? Or what are we talking about in that district?
I believe it's conditional. And you were losing to switch it to site plan review administrative, which is the lesser hurdle.
And just so I understand, this is something that's passed before. You're just highlighting it.
No, it hasn't. It's yellow.
I mean,
because it has-
sorry.
Yeah.
It's been proposed by this committee, but hasn't passed before.
Yeah, and we should turn this C yellow too, right here. But I'm not supposed to be messing with this chart. Okay,
Right, it's
That's.
Rose, do we have you
fine with
now?
that.
all right.
Rose, do we have you now?
Yeah, I got on.
Okay, we've gone through, on Martha's chart, 2 through 10 so far. And we've pretty much left everything the way that she put it and changed language and that she suggested. Did you have any comments on 2 through 10?
Actually, no, I think it's good. I like the way it's set up.
Okay. I guess we're ready to move on to 11, Martha.
Okay, so multi-unit dwellings. I'm just, there's
Okay,
Quite
so
an-
all the childcare stuff? I don't think we
Pardon?
talked about 12 yet, or 11.
Oh, okay. Yeah, home childcare, that has to be a permitted use. You didn't have it in the preservation district, but that's one of those uses that you have to allow.
So it needs to be added to the preservation district?
Correct.
Okay. Everybody's okay with that? Well, actually, we don't have a choice.
Right.
And same with childcare facility, that's different.
It's just the same, it's just a different terminology. I mean, one of the reasons for this chart is just to point out the different terminologies and the need for consistency, so.
And I'm sorry, and the differences in terminology are in our regs currently, not from the state.
Right.
Okay, so should we make, would childcare facility then be absorbed by either the daycare center or the home childcare? Could somebody figure out, I guess, where it is?
Yeah, childcare facility is consistent with the state regulations. Daycare center isn't.
It's an
So-
old terminology.
It would be
I guess I'm
preferable.
wondering why it's not in the village RC. Childcare facility.
It is.
Okay, so that's just a typo?
It was a different terminology, but it's the same, it's the same thing.
So can you change one of these to adult daycare center? And since you've got a home childcare and a childcare facility, can that number 10 just be adult daycare center?
Yes. Sure.
That would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And do we agree with everything that goes beside it?
If we're,
Well,
That's, yeah.
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No,
So
go ahead.
if we're changing it to adult daycare center, it should be conditional across the board
Okay.
and in the RC districts as well. That's my opinion.
Yeah, that might be a big facility.
I would agree.
So we don't want it to be site plan administrative review. We want it conditional
Yep.
in the village RC. Do we all agree on that? Did you hear that, Martha?
Yep.
Rose, do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then we'll put down here. We'll add the C's here.
And of course, all these changes need to be made in the village document as well. Okay, I think we're ready for 13.
Okay, multi-unit. Probably we should just keep that. There's a new definition for it in Act 47. But specify 3 and 4 unit dwellings. You could combine 14 and 15 and just say 3 and 4 multi-unit, parentheses, 3 and 4 units dwellings. Those have to be permitted since you have water and sewer in all your districts, they have to be permitted across the board. 5 or more you can have as conditional.
So can we just delete 14 and 15? Is that what you're saying, Martha?
I would just maybe say, go up here and say 3.
So we have multi-unit dwelling, 3-unit dwelling, 4-unit dwelling.
Well, wouldn't that include a 2-unit dwelling if it's multi-unit?
We have a 2-unit
That's a
dwelling up top.
Duplex, right?
You do?
Yep.
I must have missed that.
The state defines them separate. So
Got it.
So what's the difference between a multi-unit dwelling and a 3-unit dwelling?
a 3-unit and a 4-unit dwelling has to be permitted.
Understood, but why do we have multi-unit dwelling? Well, I don't know what that is.
Well, it would still be one with three or more units.
And we're saying it's conditional, so I would say that we get rid of multi-unit dwelling.
Well, she's saying it's permitted. She's saying the one with 5 and more is conditional.
Not on the chart, multi-unit dwelling, conditional. It's right above.
Okay.
Well, the one that says 5.
Changing it as we speak.
Yeah, that's confusing.
I suggest we just get rid of multi-unit dwelling.
Yeah, me too.
Doesn't mean
We have
anything.
3 unit, 4 unit, we gotta agree.
Have a definition for it.
Situation here.
The state has a new definition for it, and when we get to the actual document, we can go over that. So I wouldn't recommend getting rid of it altogether, just that the review process for 3 unit and 4 unit is the same. So you could say multi-unit 3 and 4 units permitted across the board, and then multi-unit 5 or more conditional across the board.
Yeah, which is how you have it here.
Agreed.
That's good.
And I would recommend that we're not changing or deleting without the actual impact of the zoning, the regs right in front of us, because
Yeah.
we may have inadvertently defined it, or the committee before us, a certain way that we're now deleting. So I think that should be,
That's a good point.
we
You gotta put
really
their
need to
definition.
do it with the definition and the impact next to it.
Okay, so I guess we're agreeing on that. We need to move on to in. Looks like it's conditional, except for in the village residential, it's not in there anymore. All proposed.
You didn't want to allow it in the village residential 2 district, but it's
Oh, the residential,
conditional.
yeah, but it's in the residential district. But
Right.
along with this goes our new definition of in, which the trustees are going to talk about on August 1st.
If I can freeze my opinions here.
So
And why didn't we want an in the village residential too?
Because they were using the word in to put in a giant hotel.
but we've since
But we've
changed.
since changed the
They
definition.
changed it, but the village trustees have to actually enact it for
Sure.
that change to happen.
Well, aren't all these changes except for the statutory ones requiring the trustees?
Yeah, all these changes are by the trustees. We're just deciding what we want to propose to them.
Okay, so I would say that if subject to our definition of in, we should have it in the village residential too. I guess that's my point. Because they go together.
Yeah, I'm not, I guess they would have to agree to the definition before we could agree to put it in there.
And again,
But
that's
they
what we
will.
make it subject to.
Right, so maybe after August 1st, we can take a look at that again and then put it in there after they agree to
Has a
that.
comment.
You guys, I have a question. Because I haven't been here in a long time. What was your definition of the inn? Do you guys know that Sal Maritoli has proposed something else for his properties, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys know that?
Definition of in, it's in the, the items that are going to the trustees. I think you included them in here. I think I saw it in here somewhere. But I have it on my laptop too.
Okay, so Sal has proposed something totally different for his properties now. It's he's proposed to have 22 condos, 2-bedroom condos up there. And he missed the deadline. Well, the deadline got pushed back because of the flooding. So it's going to come for August meeting. But so he's not proposing an inn or anything like that. But I'm wondering about some of the other properties up and down that street that are very large. Could they become inns with the definition that you have? And with the new...
You want to hear? I got our definition of in, Rose. You want to hear it?
Yes, please.
Okay, the old one is a commercial facility for the housing of transients and which may offer meal service. The definition we're proposing is an owner-occupied building used to provide overnight or short-term accommodations and 1 or more meals to transient guests and shall not have more than 25 guest rooms, which shall be primarily assessed from inside the building. And then all of our stuff on employee housing says that cannot exist in inns. So we've had a lot of public feedback that that's not working out very well for people.
25 guest rooms is a lot.
I think we should have inns as conditional use and the village residential too. Once it's, you go.
I think we should too. I just want to make sure we're working with the same definition of inn when we're talking about that. And not the old definition of inn, because we're going to end up in the same quagmire.
So, I mean, I think we just word it that way, that
Yep.
subject to the new definition.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay.
We recommend that it be in the village res too also.
Martha, did you get that?
Yeah.
In concept, I did.
Okay, yeah, we want to put it in village R2, but only under the condition that the new definition applies for the village trustees on August 1st. Hey, bed and breakfast. We should have a new definition of that too. And that already proposes to put it in the village R2 and under administrative review in the RC.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
Everyone agree with that?
We all good with
I
that?
agree with that.
Agreed.
Okay, moving on to tourist home. We got 3 conditionals and a administrative review.
And the only thing I would suggest there is changing the definition. It's very broad. And I think if you use the terms transient and short term, like you have in the other definitions, you can hopefully avoid the same situation that you had with the inn/employee.
I'm going to put that as something we do on the next agenda. Make sure we have a definition change the definition of tourist home. Okay, and everybody's okay with what we have for that? Professional service. Now, how's that different from professional service, personal service? That's like spas and stuff.
Yeah. Personal service, it's fairly broad, like hairdressers, but it also includes laundromats and photography developing.
Wow, okay, so we had it as a conditional in the historic preservation. Not
Personal
in the
service,
village res, or res 2.
So,
Sorry.
go ahead, Andy.
No, I'm just looking at the definition. It includes barber, hairdresser, beauty parlor, shoe repair, shoe shine, laundry, laundromat, dry cleaner, photographic studio, and pharmacy. Those are very varied, different types of things. A dry cleaner, you have to worry about
Chemicals.
Environmental impact. I think we need to address that definition. I don't think we can properly put all those together.
I think you're right. Especially like the noise level, like laundromats and stuff.
That too.
Okay, so we'll take a look at that definition. So what do we want to do about this chart and that particular thing?
We might need to just table it till we have the definition.
Okay.
I think otherwise I don't think we can. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
The chart's really just for discussion purposes, so that's fine. I just made a note.
Thank you.
No, it is helpful, and it's giving us directions as to what we're missing too. School. Additional and historic preservation, it is in the historic preservation district, our school.
No, it's not.
It's not. Where does it end?
It ends at Christine Fuller's old house.
Okay, so right next door to the school.
Yep.
So section 221.5 is the limitations on municipal bylaws, which limits what you can look at for certain facilities, and schools is one of them. So
Rose,
Okemo Mountain School is.
Is Okemo Mountain School in the preservation district?
Yes.
Yes, 'cause that's before Christine Tiller's house. I think
Yeah.
it was Kirkbride's house.
I mean, I think since we're the planning commission, we also have to look forward, not just what's
What's there?
occurring right now. I think
Right.
that's the important part. Martha, are there limitations for school that we should be aware of that we're not complying with now with these sections that you've added?
well, you currently allow.
It could be anywhere in the preservation district here.
You currently require conditional use for the things that the statute says you have limited ability to regulate, which I think is an overstep. So that
that's
may
why
just.
there's no regulation for it all for it then.
So the absence doesn't mean we're not allowing it. In this case, it's meaning that it's just, we are overridden by the state.
Yeah, we can't control it.
So then we should remove the C in the historic preservation district, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We should.
Well, you have to look at the language too, and that's beyond what you were planning to do tonight, but
Well, I don't know if
So-
we want to eliminate from the historic preservation district because we have the Okemo Mountain School there.
No. We're just saying remove the C if we're limited, unless the Okemo
Okay.
Mountain School does not comply.
Okay.
So I think we might need to look at what those limitations are, as
Yeah.
Martha's saying, before we
Okay.
look at that one also.
And those are state limitations.
Yeah. On what we can do and how they define school.
Okay, moving on to
healthcare facilities,
facility.
it's the same thing, same as schools. It's in that list of things that you're limited in what you can do. So
Okay.
might as well look at them all at once.
Yes.
Okay. Funeral home,
Funeral homes,
conditional
Are you
in
happy with-
residential, conditional in village RC. That makes sense. With the amount of parking and fire safety and everything attached to those. Outdoor recreational use.
in some districts you have outdoor recreational use, and some you have outdoor and indoor recreational use. If you're going to have different requirements.
Did we lose you? Martha, are you there?
Nope.
Rose, do you want to weigh on on anything we've talked about? Since Dan? I think it's us. Did we lose all of them?
We're still connected.
No, I just went out on my end, like I was on it, so.
Yeah, we're not using it.
Do you need to restart the Zoom? Because we can continue and I can take notes on my chart.
Just like crash or something. It's weird.
Or if Wi-Fi
It's
looked.
Well, why don't we move on and I'll just take notes on my chart to give to her and I'll track changes. I can find it. Here we go, track changes, highlight changes.
The projector also.
Yeah, without either of them, should we just move
I
on to a
think we
different
should
part of
move
the
on to-
agenda?
yes.
Otherwise, we're gonna be duplicating.
Why did that projector go out?
It's the internet.
No.
What does that
No, she's
projector have to do with the
connected directly.
internet?
Yeah, that was.
I'm on the internet.
I got requested.
No.
I'm not online with the stuff I have. I'm in my Excel document.
Try wiggling the cord, connecting right in some of those, I think.
I'll try restarting.
Oh, there we are.
Oh, there we are. Power off, are you sure? No, I'm
That's
not
because,
sure.
that's because you, yeah. It might be a
I think
little,
that was just a Zoom error.
The Zoom error shut it off?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to restart it.
I'm not getting a power off option. Oh,
that's because it's coming
It's
from the
physically on
projector.
the,
projector, so
Yep.
how can I get rid of that?
so there's
There's
gonna
probably
be a
a-
toggle button
Yeah.
and then,
I know.
okay.
And you kind of.
Where's my toggle button?
Let's see if it shows here.
Thanks, Abby. Is it the middle of the mouse?
Select.
Well, thanks for trying. Well, we can still talk about it. And,
Nice.
There we go. Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll just take notes on here, and so we can move on. We were on outdoor recreational use. Did anybody see any changes they wanted here? I guess the new thing is to put it in the Village R2.
We want to continue without Rose and Martha.
Yeah, I think we can continue and just take notes. At least we'll have our opinions in the chart. I mean, rather than just waste our time.
What if we wait for them to come back on and just address something else on the agenda?
We're here.
Oh, they're here.
You're back?
Yeah.
Oh, then we were
Okay.
out.
Okay,
We've gone out and we came back.
is Martha back?
Martha, me, Steve, who just left the room, but I don't see Rose.
All right.
Want me to text her and tell her to try to get back in?
What's the Wi-Fi at?
It's Ludlow 5.0, and then it's Ludlow 06, all lowercase.
Try getting back in. Judy is back.
That's weird, I got kicked out too. I was in it before.
Okay. Martha, do we have you? Oh yeah, we got your chart back and everything. So we're talking about
Here.
outdoor recreational use and outdoor and indoor recreational use.
Do you want them together like that, or do you want them separate, and which districts and which levels of review?
Okay, so the outdoor recreational use, we have conditional in village residential, conditional in R2, and conditional in RC. Does that make sense, everybody? Keep it conditional?
Yeah.
And how about indoor? The only place we have that condition, we don't have it everywhere, but conditional in RC. I guess I'm confused with why it's okay to have it outdoors, but not indoors in the residential areas.
Indoor recreational use would be like a field house, I'm assuming,
Okay,
right?
yeah, so is it just like too big
Large.
to consider or too noisy to put in village?
That's
Because we got the outdoor there already.
yeah. So indoor rec use to me means like a massive field house, indoor.
Do we want that in
Tennis
residential
bubble.
areas?
Yeah.
No, I don't see where it makes sense
Yeah.
anywhere.
You don't think it would make sense in the RC?
Recording in progress.
No,
No,
You
not
need
even
a
in the
massive-
RC? What do you guys think?
you need a massive.
What's the question, Terry? Whether we
Acreage.
think outdoor recreational use should be in the
Well,
village
we
residential?
kind of agreed on that, but we're hemming and hawing about the indoor recreational use, like a field house.
But if we don't.
Yeah, but it could also be things like, a yoga studio or
That would be like personal.
something like that. That's recreation and that's indoors.
Eric, you want to
I
say
mean, if
something?
you put it under conditional, then you get to look at it.
I just wanted to point out, you've had one in the past down at the old theater, you've had like the skate park inside, so.
Right.
I mean, I don't-
Right.
I mean,
There
we
was
need to have
one
them somewhere. We should-
Yeah.
DJs
I don't
years
have a
ago,
problem with
like
having
it was, I don't remember what it was exactly, aerobics or something.
Yeah, I mean, I would
Well, I
keep
think
it
keep it in the RC.
indoor in the RC, yeah, so, yeah.
Ryan, are you okay
We
with
also
that?
have
Yeah,
the,
that's where the definition
the
of
old
indoor
armory.
recreation is.
What is the definition? Martha, what's the definition of indoor recreation use?
I'm gonna switch to the other document.
Let me see if she's got it over here on the side.
Indoor recreational uses, those types of uses commonly considered recreational in nature or are related to improving physical fitness that may occur inside of a building or enclosure, including swimming and water activities, racket sports, weight training, so it's a gym, aerobic training, skating.
yeah.
I mean, certainly we,
Gym, could be a yoga studio, and we have those already in the village.
Yep.
Yeah, makes sense for Village RC. Okay, we're moving on to rooming house, which we are proposing to the village trustees to make that a permitted use, right? On August 1st in the commercial district. Here we have it as a, conditional use.
think you wanted to add it to as a permitted use in the C.
Yeah,
Correct.
if that flies, but we have it as a conditional use in the two village, proposed for the village R2 and already in the village residential area. So that's why you didn't put anything here under village RC? Because of our proposal?
I haven't put in what you suggested in your public hearing yet, so.
Okay. And also, that is contingent on them, accepting our guidelines for employee housing, too. Yes.
What is the definition of the boarding, the terminology you just used?
Rooming house?
Yes.
Rooming house?
What's the definition?
I can find you, we have a new definition and we have an old definition. Do I still have that open? I should have left that open.
I think,
This one.
Read the one that I have.
Okay, so rooming boarding house, a building in which the rooms that are rented serve as the renter's principal residence for more than 30 days. One or more meals, housekeeping, and/or laundry service may be provided. A rooming boarding house shall have no more than 8 rooms for rent. That's our new definition. The old definition is buildings in which rooms are rented, with some or all meals provided to 3 or more persons. A boarding house shall have no more than 8 sleeping rooms for rent. It's not a lot different. See lodging house.
Thank you.
Yep. Keep that down in my deck here.
Do you want to add to the preservation district or no?
No? Do you guys want to add that to the preservation district? Rooming and boarding houses? We're having a lot of trouble with it being in the residential district right now.
If the look goes with an historic preservation district, I think it should be treated that way.
It is only 8 rooms now, instead of like,
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think we need to encourage economic vitality, but you could still have the historic preservation district be that history that we want to keep.
okay, 8 rooms though. Are they gonna be the rooms like on Prospect Street where they're sticking so many kids in a room, so many young people in a room?
Well, I think that's dealing with a separate
that's already
issue.
regulated.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think
Well,
that's,
it's not regulated yet, we're proposing it to have it regulated.
No, occupancy is not us. Occupancy is fire marshal.
Right,
So,
as to how many people you can have in there.
I think we should add it. We need options.
Yep.
People need options for housing.
yep.
I'm resisting that just because we've had so many noise complaints.
Well, again, separate issue.
Yeah, I think that's different, and I think that the flooding has just demonstrated that we have to use the land that we can use.
Yeah,
And
the
we are
preservation
limited.
district pretty got flooded though, right?
Well,
No.
it's a general point.
What do you think, Ted?
I think it should be allowed.
What do you think, Rose? Allowing,
Preservation district?
yeah, allowing rooming house in the preservation district. I'm a no, I got 3 yeses here.
I gotta dwell on that one.
Okay, how about you, Judy?
I'm gonna go with a yes.
Oh, I guess I got voted.
I guess I have nothing to say then.
Okay.
So,
No, we like your opinion.
Yeah, what is your opinion, Rose? Because you may sway people here.
I don't know that yet.
It's contingent on if the trustees accept our proposal for employee housing, because it has a lot of restrictions on it.
I don't think that's a proper place for it.
I really don't either.
So, just so I understand the objections, what is it about the historic district that makes it, what are we preserving in the historic district that this or other businesses would be an issue?
Quiet, look, the climate of the historic district.
Climate. But so as far as noise, we don't have, we need to deal with that everywhere.
Right,
So
and the
I don't
problems
think,
with the dumpsters overflowing and going into everybody's yards. I just think we're making it harder, we're making it harder for people that live in the preservation district. That's what I think.
it's already heavily restricted.
yeah,
Well, if that goes through this heavily restricted, oh, yeah, the historic district is already heavily restricted.
I mean, I think it should be a conditional use.
Well, I think I'm outvoted and Rose, we're outvoted.
Yeah, I think that the preservation district is so small that the boarding houses, or whatever you want to call them, rooming houses, there's plenty of places you can put those. You don't need to have them in the preservation district. I mean,
what is being preserved by that? I guess what's against the preservation district designation purpose that this is offending, that isn't offending anything else with those same issues? I guess I don't see the difference. I'm under the impression, I wasn't on the committee when we made the historic preservation district, but I'm under the impression from reading that it's a style, it's how it looks. I get that.
It's how they want it to look. They want it to preserve it so that when people come into Ludlow, they can see that people care about Ludlow. People have a way of living, or a way of that they want to live. They see the high school. They see, some buildings that are taken care of. And a lot of large buildings there, the big brick building, the building across the street, I think is ID3. There's greenscape that we're trying to do in the future to make it look better. And it's just if we do any type of stores down there, there are certain stores that will be allowed, and not big box stores that we've talked about in the past. And it's just and then as you go past Commonwealth Avenue, that's preservation part 2, that you see, which looks really nice with the gazebo and the green. And, the Troy Crusoe's done a really nice job with fixing up his area, the Governor's Inn and all those, the library and all that area there, it just looks very nice. And that's the way of life that you want to see in Ludlow. When you pull into Ludlow, you want to have this vision. If you look at Ludlow, there is a picture, and you can see it in magazines. It's one of the #1 picture of Ludlow, of the park and the Baptist church with Okemo in the background. That picture has been taken so many times that you can see it in magazines, just opening magazines and see it in there. And
so I guess I'm still not hearing though how allowing this as a conditional use harms that. That's what I'm not seeing. I mean, maybe I guess we voted, so I guess it doesn't matter, but I just want to understand.
Well, we didn't
maybe I'm missing something, or we're discussing. So that's what I'm not understanding, because the look, it still has to be whatever we're requiring in the historic district. And I think.
Yeah, but when you have a boarding house like that, sometimes it becomes like a group home. It becomes an area where it's not taken care of, and you're constantly worrying about that one property all the time. It's like it just doesn't have the features, and it's not being taken care of. You have too many, you're talking about 8 rooms, and so you have it becomes almost like a group home instead of a boarding house. And that's what we would be dealing with.
If I could, I think the preservation district, it requires a separate, much longer conversation.
Yeah.
Because I'll say this, if from that picturesque photo, Rose, that you're speaking of, if you do a 180 and take a picture the other way, it's quite the opposite. The multis on the corner of Commonwealth, I mean, the restrictions of building materials to be able to fix the exterior of homes. You have asphalt sided homes.
That is a longer discussion, you're right.
Exactly. So as far as it being almost a two-sided conversation, what I see rooming boarding house, I see opportunities for young people to work and live here. And that's what I'd like to encourage, regardless of where it is.
So has anybody changed their vote, or are we? Okay, so I guess we're putting it in as a conditional use in the preservation district. Okay, moving on to professional office residence, professional resident office. How's that different from professional service?
We have this already.
The difference there.
Like a real estate office?
No, that's where the person lives and works in the same building.
Okay.
So they have their office there, but they also live there.
Okay. So we have it conditional on residential, 1 and 2, and administrative review in RC.
How's that different from home occupation? That's one. Yes.
We don't even have home
I
occupation.
don't know, I just think of a lawyer or a dentist or something like that, like Dr.
Home
Montgomery.
occupation. Home occupation is number 7. Yeah.
A home occupation.
So this is any, the way it's defined currently is home occupation is any non-residential use conducted entirely within a primary residential dwelling, or, excuse me, can't see anymore, or outbuilding and carried on wholly by members of the family living there, with the exception of one part-time non-family member employee. And then how is that different from the professional office? Then it should be very different.
So there might be more employees in a professional office.
Yep. So that is defined as a professional residence office, primary residence in which the occupant has a professional office, including that of, and then it lists, which is clearly secondary to the dwelling use for living purposes and does not change the residential character. I have to be honest, I have to see these things side by side. This is hard to do this way.
So what do you guys think? We got it conditional in village res already. We want to add it to village res 2 as conditional, and we got nothing in RC there. Oh yeah, we do. We have administrative review. Those sound reasonable to me. What does everybody think?
Fine with me.
Yeah, fine with me.
Okay, moving on to municipal government building. Do we have any control over that?
So you do not want to allow the professional office residents in the historic preservation
I was
district?
really hoping you didn't open up that can of worms, Martha. Do we want to?
No, we're moving. No, we're moving on. I think from that.
What do you guys
You know,
think?
when I think about the historic district, though, you know, you have Marty Nitka's office there.
Yeah,
How would that be any different?
It makes sense there.
Yeah,
It does.
I
don't
think it also,
understand why people think that that's a bad thing. I mean,
No, I don't think it's a bad thing. I just thought it was going to be a really long discussion. I'm not fine with it.
no, I think it should be conditional also.
Yeah, conditional, definitely.
yeah.
Okay. Municipal government building, we have any control over that? Well, our town is municipal government.
That's one of those things in the list of things that you have limited control over. You do have some control, but it's just limited. So
Okay.
why not discuss that along with schools and hospitals and things like that.
Municipal government building.
Government recreation area. I have a question. Is that basically a public recreation area?
Is that like a park?
Looking it up.
It's permitted in the RC and nowhere else can you have it.
It's so the way we have it defined in our current zoning is a town or village recreation area that may be financed by town, village, state, or federal funds, but not operated as a private enterprise. So unless there's something specific about that versus the other recreation areas, I think we're carving out something that may not be necessary unless there's something in our zoning that made a difference.
I'm thinking we have no control over it since it's only permitted in the village RC.
I think we should circle back on this one.
I agree.
What are we looking for? More of a definition or whatever?
Well, like, no, where it's impacted before we just decide where to put it. Why is it different from the others?
Okay.
I did notice somewhere it said you can have it everywhere.
Yeah, there's a note in section 310 that that says that. And I was going to suggest that rather than just have that note there, just go, if it's permitted everywhere, just list it as permitted everywhere.
List as permitted in all districts and remove no.
Right. That's what it says under section 310, but then it's only listed under one of them.
So do we need to list it under all of them?
I think I would, because all your other uses that are permitted are listed there. So if someone doesn't happen to see that note under section 310, then they wouldn't know that.
I agree. I think each section should be able to stand on its own, and people shouldn't have to fish around to like a one-line note that they wouldn't ordinarily look for. Although in this case, it would be the municipality, well, or state, or
Okay, sounds like we're
Yeah, because a government rec area. What's Dorsey Park?
Isn't it our government rec area?
What?
That's a government rec area.
Well, our town, yeah. Okay.
And isn't that in village residential?
Might be in village residential too now.
Yeah, I think it might be too.
Yeah, I don't know if that's considered Andover Road or not. I doubt
And
it.
where is the Armory, the community center? Which district is that? I think we already have both.
That's in the commercial district. Okay. Veterinary office with no kennel. We have a conditional in residential. And we don't have it anywhere else, which is weird.
Should certainly be an RC.
Certainly be an RC.
A veterinary office / animal hospital and a veterinary office with no kennel. So they're just
the same thing.
Differently. So I think figuring out which term you want to use and using it consistently.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah.
Because they both mean, well, how can you have an animal hospital with no kennel? Because you got to keep animals overnight.
Well, I think that's the difference.
No, they don't.
I think that.
No, you don't?
No, when the Riverside was right down by the stoplight, Riverside Veterinary, they didn't keep them overnight. It was just an office.
But what was it, a hospital?
It was just a vet office where you just bring your dogs in, and if you needed more, you had to go to another facility.
Yeah, okay, so they are separate things.
If they needed to stay overnight, they took them to Rutland.
Exactly.
Yeah. They moved up to,
You're off the rails.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like we have the no kennel one in the residential district, but the one with the animal hospital not, so that makes sense. And conditional in the residential district, the commercial residential district. And not, why don't we have the other one in the commercial district? Veterinary office, no kennel.
That's what I'm wondering, because it used to be right there in the middle of it.
What do you think, Rose? Should that be an administrative review? If we put that in the, into the commercial district, would you want that to have administrative review, a veterinarian office with no kennel?
Yeah, as long as it doesn't have any houses around it.
Oh, I see what you mean, but it makes sense in the commercial district. We have it in the residential district as a conditional use.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so we're gonna put it in there as a SP/AR. PUDs. They're their own.
Where do you want the veterinary office as SP?
SP/AR, yeah, administrative review in the commercial district. And the animal hospital, that looks good, right? We got a conditional in those 3 districts.
Still want the veterinary office with no animal hospital as conditional in the village residential district.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you wanted to add it to the R2, the animal hospital? It seems more sense to add the veterinarian office to the R2, not the animal hospital.
So I think when I'm looking at the definitions, veterinary office and animal hospital, it's just the general, it's a facility that you're serving animals, and it may include facilities for keeping animals overnight. So that's the kennel, right?
That's
So-
no kennel. So that's the
No.
hospital part,
Right, so that's why they are,
conditional.
right. But that's why I think those are the two separations, and I think we have that as defined. So I'm sorry, maybe I missed
No,
the
I'm
current
looking
question.
at, yeah, that's my bad. I'm looking at the wrong section here. Because it's not in the R2, so that makes sense. Okay, PUD. Conditional in and you're considering R2, we're considering R2 and commercial. What do we think? PUDs are highly regulated by the DRB. Everything's looked at.
Yep.
Keep it conditional and add it to the R2. Okay, unless you're already nodding.
Yep.
I agree.
Judy, Rose, what do you guys think?
Yeah, you
PUD
can-
R2, Andover Street. Auto Service Center, conditional in the R2.
Yep.
Yeah, as long as it's not a gas station.
And that's in the definition of auto service, and they can't sell vehicles or
Yeah,
a
they
certain
can't.
number of vehicles or something.
Right.
Yeah, we talked about that when we talked about Tony's, and that's why I think that's there.
Correct.
We
Yep.
did. Remodeling permitted in the commercial district.
What is remodeling?
Isn't remodeling permitted everywhere?
Get a definition.
Is that a business?
That was added. It used to say additions or alterations, which I think is a little more clear than remodeling.
Yeah.
So you could just change that back. That hasn't officially been changed. It's just
Yeah, would you change
a
that?
current.
Do we agree to change that back? That doesn't make sense, remodeling.
No, yeah, additions / alterations.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the only place we have anything for that is in the commercial district, and that's a permitted use. What do you think about that, Rose? Additions and alterations is a permitted use in the commercial district?
What does that mean, though?
Yeah, I'm confused.
I don't understand what that is.
Does that mean being able to add onto your property and
But
remodel?
that doesn't make sense. I mean, these are all like businesses. Is that something like that kitchen showroom that's down in the historic district?
Not
You know,
even-
that, you know what I mean? That big white building. I can't think of what it's called.
Yeah, AIS3, IC3, ID3. That's what you mean?
So it's this particular kind of office that does
It's a-
additions and,
It's
Alterations?
a store.
oh, it's a store.
It's a store. It's got professional services associated with it.
Okay, so Rose, are you okay with that being
If
permitted
that's-
in the recreation, in the Village RC?
I'm sorry, can I just ask one question? If currently you do not require a permit to change your backsplash or something along the lines, I believe this is what we're talking about in that, or no?
No.
Ryan, I
No,
believe-
it's- this is, I think we're talking about a business that does that.
I think what it was supposed to be about was, if you want to add a deck onto the back of your house, that's an
Oh, I'm
addition.
completely wrong
Or,
then.
maybe
Rose, you're on mute.
Yeah, Rose.
Thank you, Martha.
Got it.
So there is a little note here in green that says if interior, that, maybe Ryan can talk to you about that. What I'm saying is that, or what I was thinking is that additions and structural alterations is when somebody comes in the office and they say they want to add a porch over their steps. That would change. They would need a permit for that, because They might not meet setbacks. They might be too close to the road. They might be too close to the water, so on and so forth. They might be fine. Additions, of course, is just as it reads, an addition. You know, they want to add a new bedroom, a new garage, and, you know, something onto their house, a garage with a walkway.
So in that case, you need it in the village R too then.
Well, you need it everywhere.
You need it in every single one.
Yeah.
Every single district requires.
Agree.
As long as you meet the zoning.
Right.
Yeah.
You meet the set.
Is it Rose, do you recommend it to be conditional anywhere or just permitted everywhere?
Well, it's it depends. It's permitted until it's not.
Sorry to follow that. No.
I know, but what I'm saying is, do you think it should be permitted in the residential districts and the historic preservation district? Or do you think it should be conditional in any of those places?
Well, they're permitted, and then until I look at it, and then tell the customer, oh, no, you need a conditional use because it doesn't meet setbacks, or, you know, so forth.
Why is this in this chart? This is a completely
Why
separate
is this in this
issue.
chart? That makes,
This
Makes sense.
this isn't a building.
This is a completely different conversation issue that could go into immense depth.
Yeah. Why is it in this chart, Martha?
Well, because we have it, I see in some proposed as item 10 as permitted uses. So so we need to deal with it at some point.
Any addition or alteration is permitted, being that it's
Yeah, so it should be everywhere. It should be everywhere.
regulations.
Right,
Yeah.
but it just seems like we have it listed in the zoning in the wrong place also. Like, it's as if remodeling is a
Well, it's just a permit.
right, but only once.
Very confusing
Yeah.
to have it there. That's why I was saying, what is that? Like, is that a business? It's not a business.
And it's only listed once, so that.
I guess it's adding on to your business or your house.
I think it's just in the wrong category.
I agree.
Because all of these are businesses, the way you use a building.
Okay,
And then we have
Martha, we want to take it out of here.
Yeah, that's a separate issue.
We want to take it out of here. Okay, business office.
I mean, it's an issue, it just doesn't belong in this category.
Right.
Business office, only in commercial, RC, SP/AR, administrative review. Are we good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, specialty craft shop, only in commercial.
What is the
We
definition?
did talk about how letting an art shop be in the preservation district. We added art shop to that, right?
Well,
gallery. We added gallery.
Yes, so I agree with Martha. I never understood. Well, I think we were spot zoning or being too. I was against having a specialty craft shop not be just retail. And I recall
Yeah, we had a lot of discussion on that.
Right,
Yeah.
but I don't understand. I still don't understand why it's separated.
I don't think it should be separated at all.
Because
It's the
it's a
same thing too as a retail
It's a
space.
commercial business.
Right.
An art gallery is a retail space. You go in to buy art. It's the same thing.
Huh.
It's
just
looks different.
I want to keep it in the RC. How do you feel, Judy?
But why?
I'd like a definition of what it is.
It's a store.
There we go.
Got it under a
Store,
couple other categories.
It's true, it's like singling out one particular store into commercial space.
Well, it can be a Michael's. That's a craft shop.
But
a Joann's.
But as we discussed,
Fabric.
that they won't be, I know there was a concern, we discussed this as a concern in the historic district, but there's so many other limitations that it couldn't be, probably. And plus, it has to look like, it has to comply with everything else in the historic district. Why single it out?
Because it could be a Michael's or a Joann of fabrics. That's
Like
why.
but what is objectionable about
So
them if
then-
they meet everything in the historic
So then we need to start
preservation?
talking about electronics. So it could be a Best Buy, could
Right,
be a Costco.
right.
God
like-
forbid.
But none of that,
But that's
But
the
that
point.
can exist, that can exist right now.
but it's, no, wait,
Right.
it physically can't.
And plus it takes away from the downtown.
It physically can't.
It takes away from the vitality of the downtown.
Those stores would never be built in a seasonal tourist town. I think we need to move on to more pressing.
Yeah, so we're only gonna keep it in the RC then, right?
I think it needs to be removed. I don't think it.
As a special definition, I agree. I don't think it should be singled out.
Okay, where do you think it falls? Under store? Is there a
It's a
definition?
retail store.
Retail store, okay. We want that taken out, Martha. Specialty craft shop, it's a retail store.
Okay.
Is your hand up here?
No.
Okay, just trying to exercise, it's a long night. Real estate office, moving right along.
This is another one that's singled out. It's included under professional service. It's
I
also
agree.
listed under business.
I agree. Yep.
Yeah, it should know.
Pull it out.
Yeah,
Right.
pull it out. I'm gonna get a drink of water. Andy, can you take over?
Sure. So change of use, retail to retail, is that again going into a different category? Because we're sort of, or do we wanna?
I think this is where the streamlining comes into all of this.
Okay.
So if you're gonna change one retail store to another retail store, it should be just administrative review.
Okay.
Right,
and it's
Rose, is that that makes perfect sense to me.
fine with that.
Rose?
Rose, you might be on mute.
I'm here.
Great.
Yeah.
We're on change of use, retail to retail.
Yeah, that's always been ridiculous. It should definitely streamline that and not have to go to the DRB, which has happened in the past.
Yeah, so so it's being recommended it would be SPAR, so in the RC.
Perfect.
You agree with that,
That's-
right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
perfect, Andy.
Judy, do you, how do you?
Agree. I agree.
Okay, I think we all agree. How about you?
Good.
Okay, all agree. Free to take it back.
Okay, thanks. Okay, retail use, including a car wash, only in commercial district. Makes sense to me.
I do want to, I agree again, Martha, you and I are on the same wavelength. A car wash is really a unique facility.
Yes.
And I really, again, car washes, dry cleaners, there are very environmental impacts. It's a type of business, just like gas stations are separated. I think a car wash should be too. I don't think it's any retail.
No,
Yeah.
car wash and retail don't belong together
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
So if you're just gonna have car wash, which districts would you allow it in then?
Commercial.
Oh, yeah.
Commercial.
Yes,
So,
that's the only one.
okay.
That's it. Okay, retail store, including adult bookstore entertainment. Excluding, excuse me. And definitely commercial business. You
Yep.
good there? Restaurant, bar, no drive up, drive through, drive in, commercial district.
Retail store considering.
Before you go on, can I
Yeah.
just point out,
Yeah.
since you're getting rid of retail use, car wash, and you're just having car wash, maybe have a separate one called retail service. And retail services would be businesses that sell services, like hairdressers and whatnot, and retail
talked about that.
stores.
We have that, that's
like
in the
personal
personal services.
Yeah, that was a personal service,
Yeah.
the hairdresser.
And if you start to say any business that sells services, you're then getting into all the offices.
Yeah. We want to take that out. I mean, we don't want to do that.
So retail store, they sell stuff as long as it's not adult entertainment stuff.
But they sell products.
But it's products, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Commercial
Okay.
district, conditional use. Restaurant, bar,
Makes sense.
makes sense,
So-
that's a commercial district.
If you have a service that is not listed currently under your personal service category, then that is a service that's not allowed.
I think, but that's covered under professional service.
Or, yeah, personal or professional, it sounds like it'll cover both. Any kind of retail service.
Martha, I have a question.
Yeah.
The survey that was done are those available for people to see the numbers and stuff?
Yes.
Because I'm just curious, was drive up, drive through, and drive in on there?
No,
No.
we weren't getting into that quagmire.
I was just wondering if anybody, wrote anything on there, about that, and if there was an answer on it or whatever.
No, I actually read all the write-in comments. There was nothing about that.
No, people are used to that we don't allow those. Okay, private club.
So you're leaving this as it is, no restaurants or bars in any district except RC.
Right.
Okay.
So question, then if you have an inn, a hotel, a motel, can they not have a restaurant and bar in it unless they're in the village RC?
So the only one of those that could serve to the public would be a hotel, and we're getting to that. All the other ones only serve to the staying guests.
Right.
Yeah, like the governor's inn.
Right. So this is more of a public restaurant bar. Got it. Okay, thank you.
Private club, commercial, conditional. Are we good there?
Yeah.
What is a private club?
Assuming
Ski club?
Ski club. Well,
We
They
have
do exist
well,
in
so
residential areas though.
there's the club itself, and then there's the building that gets used by the club. I think those are two different things.
That's true.
And we have, those buildings are all over.
Yeah, they are all over.
Yeah.
Is that what that means, Martha? Private club, like a ski club? Like a resident?
So it says there, our current definition in the zoning is a club restricted to members and their guests. And I can tell you that would then be all of those
Ski clubs.
And they're not just in RC, and I'm not suggesting that they should just be in RC. I think we have to really look at that one. I think we're gonna have a lot of non-conforming uses.
Rose, what do you think about that? All those ski clubs and stuff? Conditional use in residential areas or not?
Yeah, and the Legion also falls in that category. So yeah, there's some in the preservation district. There's some on, Pleasant Street. There's some on the mountain.
So we just put them in every district with a conditional use?
Yeah, they're all over the place.
Eric, what did you want to comment on that?
No, Rose, I'm just going to point out that the Legion or American, VFW posts are considered private clubs.
Okay. Okay, municipal or private parking areas in the commercial districts. In the commercial district. We're good with that and a conditional use?
Yep.
Sure.
Motel, only in.
Can we back up to municipal or private parking area?
Yeah.
I have a comment on that. So, one of the things we've talked about a lot is looking at more parking. And if we don't allow it anywhere but in Village RC, it would exclude the possibility of maybe sometimes using the school or the armory as maybe weekend parking that could be used for the ski industry. So do you really want to exclude all that or have it be a conditional use? I'm just asking the question.
I'm just saying, I think we need it to be close to where people want to go though, which would probably be more commercial areas.
But one of our questions was, would you take transportation from,
Yeah, what did people say? I forgot.
Right.
It was probably split.
Or suppose you wanted to use, say, like the senior center on a weekend for parking. Would that exclude it?
Well,
or the Black River Academy, they both have, pretty good parking lots that might be converted on weekends for overflow parking. I just want to make sure we don't exclude them and then we don't have that possibility.
Can I offer just a sort of a tabling? We were going to, and I guess not, obviously not at this meeting, going to go back through the results of that survey
Yeah.
and how it applies to what we're doing here.
Really
And I think that's directly impacted. I think it's a great point, Judy, and I think we should circle back to this because that is really important. And it was a main part of the survey.
Okay, so that'll be something you table and circle back to when you talk about the survey.
Yep.
I haven't seen it, so I would love to see all the survey answers.
I can send you the link, but I tried to send it to the trustees and they didn't have very good luck opening it. I think Bob Brandt was the only one that could actually open it.
I can get it to you, Rose.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to
Copy as
motel.
well, please, Ryan.
What, Steve?
I would like a copy of that as well, please, Ryan.
Sure.
Thank you.
If your link works, will you send it to me? It seems like I copied it.
All right, I want one too.
I should. Well,
You haven't gotten it, Judy? Oh, yeah, Rose.
I'm pretty sure I'll get it one way or the other.
So there's the summary that we went over and the actual raw data. If you guys are looking for the raw data, right? Or the summary?
I sent you the raw data. It's pretty intense. So I think they probably want the survey, the one that we saw first, because that one's easier to read
Rose,
and understand.
yeah, do you want the summary of it, right? That we,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I want the summary and then I want what everybody wrote, like.
Yeah, all the comments.
Well, then you want both. You want the summary and the raw data.
I would like both, please.
Ryan will send it to you guys. I'll send it to you guys and hopefully one of them will work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, motel. Only in the commercial district. Yep. Makes sense to me.
Why would we consider redefining?
Did we define motel in that latest definition thing?
Let me see if I can find the definition.
I stuck it down here. Motel.
Hotel, a building containing rooms that are rented as a series of sleeping rooms for vehicle transients, each sleeping unit consisting of at least a bedroom and a bathroom.
I think we believed that this overlaps with others.
Well, a motel typically is owner occupied and also has exterior access to each individual.
That
is the definition. I don't know why it would be anything else. That's what differentiates it from everything else.
So are we good with it in the commercial district? Should it be an administrative review thing or should it have a conditional use attached to it? Maybe a pretty big place, though. Conditional? Commercial?
Conditional.
Hotel, we don't have it anywhere yet. Do we want it in the commercial district? Conditional?
I think, it should follow a motel. And the biggest difference with the hotel is the commercial aspect. So commercial services to the public, so restaurants, bars, retail.
Commercial.
Jackson Gore.
Okay, Martha, you got that? Hotel, motel, commercial, RC?
Yeah.
Rose, do you agree with that? Thanks. Sorry, we're wearing people out here.
This is a very ambitious agenda.
Yes.
This is a very ambitious agenda. I don't think we're going to get through one item.
It's all right.
I have grandchildren at home too. Okay, dormitory. I didn't hear from Rose. I hope she's okay with that. Dormitory, new definition. Is that in the
I
notes?
think we should allow
Sorry, I
it.
gave a thumbs up.
Okay,
I
thanks,
think we
Rose.
should allow it where schools are, because we have both OMS and the Expeditionary School who may in the future want to have a dormitory.
I agree.
I agree. So everywhere is a conditional?
Sure. Yeah.
Because it is definitely defined as being part of a school.
Right.
Gas station, commercial, keep it commercial and conditional.
Yep.
Senior housing, no definition. How's that different from adult daycare, adult home?
Senior, we don't have a definition with the Gill home here.
Well, we have nursing home up here already we've talked about.
Oh,
But then there's the apartments up by Gill Home.
Is that
Yeah, we
senior housing?
That's senior housing.
well, it's definite, it's defined by HUD. So I don't know we can go beyond that. Is that true, Martha? Because that's all done by HUD.
I'm not sure. I'd have to look into that and see what they're.
Gill Terrace residential?
Yeah, that's done by HUD. So we had to follow all their rules and stuff.
Yep. I think there's a difference between senior housing and senior care housing.
Okay.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's in a residential area. We're saying here only in the commercial areas.
But that's my point. You already have some up by Gill Home, and that's not in a residential commercial area.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying too.
Yeah, it's in a residential area.
So do we add it to at least residential, maybe not R2 or preservation? Add senior housing?
I would do village residential and RC.
I would do it everywhere. Conditional.
I mean, gee, we want someplace to live when we need it.
Yeah, I mean, our town
Yeah.
use senior. We need housing.
It's a residential.
We need housing.
Yeah, it's residential.
Meet all the other zoning.
Right.
Yeah,
Gonna
okay.
separate it out.
Okay, so Martha, we want that everywhere conditional.
Garrick has a.
Yeah, Eric?
Just to add a note on that. When you think of like senior housing, it doesn't always mean a giant complex.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
several townhouses
Agreed.
and it's age restricted, 55 and all
Yeah.
that
Yep.
stuff. It might not be the Gill Home, it could
Right.
be
Hmm.
3 townhouses.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're all agreeing on that. Judy, you're good with that? Putting it in
Yes.
a district as a conditional?
I am.
Financial institutions. Conditional.
Yep.
RC.
I agree.
Okay.
RC. Yep.
Theaters. RC.
RC.
Transitional housing.
What is that?
Yeah, what is transitional
That's
housing?
probably people that get out of jail or get off
Could
drugs.
be a number of,
Is that what that is?
things.
Martha, is that what that is? Transitional housing?
It's defined as people who need like temporary housing to deal with physical, mental, or social issues.
Oh,
So
yeah,
it'd be like a turning point.
right.
Yeah, physical, social, or psychological therapy and counseling.
Yeah, that needs to be in
Yep.
commercial areas, yes.
And emergency shelter. Those were not just in commercial areas.
So
Well, that's,
I'm going to go back to transitional housing. Don't we have transitional housing where Mountainside House is? Doesn't that fit the classification?
What's that? Is that blue sky? What? Oh, no.
Down.
No, it's housing for teens that need.
oh yeah, right on
Oh,
Meadow
yeah,
Street.
Meadow Street.
Mill Street.
Yeah,
Mill
I
Street.
mean, if we have it, it needs to be reflected in this.
Why don't we
Wasn't
put
that-
it, why don't we put it
Is
everywhere?
that under group homes?
But not maybe preservation district or?
Group homes?
It's too broad of a use. Transitional housing
Yeah.
is turning point.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, that's, what's
Keep
down
it
on
commercial.
what's down on Mill Street is, I 100% am for, I agree, but it's too broad of a,
Yeah, it is too broad.
Yeah, we should,
Because it could be huge.
readdress
It could be
this.
huge.
Maybe relook at that.
Yes, we should look
All
at this
right, so that's
definition.
another one we're gonna look
Agreed.
at.
Good point.
So you want to look at the definition for transitional housing?
Yeah, do you have it?
I can.
Oh, no,
pull it up.
Sorry.
But you want to, that sounds like you want to talk about it again at another
Yes.
time.
Yep.
Okay.
we want to consider the use of the property on Mill Street.
Yes.
And I don't think we can't do that right now.
So, emergency shelter, obviously that's like a municipal thing, so it has no district
Right, so
allowed everywhere.
that's required. It's part of Act 47.
Okay. We have successfully got through this 52 item chart. And even eliminated some items.
Thank you, Martha.
Thank you, Martha.
Very helpful.
Okay, now we're talking about, do we need to make a motion for all those things we just decided? Why don't we do that?
Make a motion for what, Terry?
Take a motion to have Martha make the changes that we just all agreed on and table the ones we didn't.
Can't we just do that by consensus?
Yeah, we have been doing it by consensus all along. I'm asking if we can make a formal motion, but it sounds like we don't. Because I know you know your Robert's Rules of Orders backwards and forwards. All right, so we're moving on to State Housing Bill S-100. For the sake of time, since we're already over 15 minutes, is that, Martha, something that you could change in our zoning, the changes we have to make, and maybe like redline them or something, and then we could talk about it next month with those changes in the places they need to occur?
Sure, I've already done that, so I can just send it to you. That's great.
Okay, so are we gonna wanna get into that tonight?
We need to be
No.
aware of them, but we don't have any discussion to have about them.
Yeah, we don't have any discussion,
We
it
need
has
to
to
be aware of
change.
them, so, but
But
that's
just so
it.
you're aware, you know, that core, that eighth acre zoning that we were proposing is now gonna be 5th acre zoning. And it was 4th acre zoning was what has been approved already, but that will be reduced to 5th acre from 8th acre, which the trustees were not in favor of anyway, so it'll work out.
I mean, hey, it is what it is, so.
So, all right, then we have to do that because we can be stricter but not as strict. So can we table this till next month and look through that all those changes? Is everybody okay with that?
Absolutely.
Yep.
I've already looked through them.
I think I just made a motion to table it till next month.
Yes.
Yep. All right, all those, wait, did anybody second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Can we also table short-term rentals till next month?
Yes.
Because that's a huge thing to talk about.
It's too big to do tonight.
Yeah, way too big, and there's,
I make a motion to table it.
Rose, this research you did, outstanding. On
Fantastic.
short-term rentals.
Fantastic.
I need a month to just read it all. Okay, so, motion to table.
Yeah, well, it's kind of neat to find out what every town in Vermont had done, and that was it. No one else has done anything with short-term rentals.
And I was talking to Justin Hychick on the phone tonight before this meeting. He was babysitting and I was babysitting, so we didn't get a lot done, but he was saying that if we don't get ahead of this short-term rental, the state's gonna get the money. And we're not gonna get the money. And we had a lot of people have a lot of opinions in our survey about that short-term rentals should be regulated. Our survey overall, people said long-term rentals should not be regulated. And they said that the money, they had very specific places they wanted the money to go. It was pretty obvious in our survey, which we will share.
And some of these towns did, having gone through this, Rose, it was excellent. I might have some questions for you and may ask for some of the links to go even deeper on a couple, but there seemed to be a 30 days or less, so it wouldn't be the long-term rentals, let's say. And then Chester had 30 days or less and doing it for more than 14 days. So that coincides with federal taxation, how you can rent out under 15 and not be taxed. It was interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. Plymouth is 15. Theirs is. Okay.
Well, you can see that some of them were not all that elaborate. And the fact is that they just want to keep the money in their towns. And that was the best case scenario. And when I approached Scott Murphy about this, that was my initial thought, was that just keep the money. You know, it's not about really doing, you know, Ludlow needs the money so badly for infrastructures and sidewalks and, you know, so many different things. And instead of the state collecting the money, why can't we?
Yeah, it's definitely a timely issue that we need to deal with before next year's
agreed.
legislature.
Right.
All right.
I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to it after the committee, so I don't know where it went, but.
The only question I have, Rose, is did any include long-term rentals as well as short-term, or is it all just focused on short-term rentals?
So when I went in to try to click and get the their manual, I could only get a couple of them, and it was Chester and Plymouth and Bolton, I think. Other than that, it took me to the site and I had to join something and blah, blah, blah. So I didn't have time to do that. But I can do that, after I get through some of the flood stuff, because I have to do substantial damage, which is something I wanted to talk to you about, Ryan. If you come back to the office sometime. But I just didn't have time to, print, all of theirs and go through all of that stuff. I couldn't even get Killington's. So I'd have to go to all their towns and do it.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm not going to say we'll table that because we did discuss it at least and get started.
Yeah.
All right.
Carrie, Steve, question.
Okay, Steve?
Just one quick question. Brian, I think, didn't you mention once before, and I read somewhere about the same thing, that Burlington passed their short-term registry and it was deemed illegal?
I believe it was heavily challenged, and if it's still litigation, I'm not sure, but it was heavily restricted.
I believe they lost.
I'm not a litigator, but just reading,
there's
so much that's just unconstitutional about it, in my opinion.
Eric,
It's so restrictive.
Just when the time comes to discuss this, the best source for information is an organization called the Vermont Short-Term Rental Association. I'm a member of that association, and I meet with that board once a month to discuss what's happening in every single town in Vermont. So if you think it's worthy, I could probably set up them to speak, because they're really the source on everything that's happening in Vermont with legislation, with towns that are proposing it. The director, Julie Marks, is incredibly smart on the subject. So she's testified. Yeah, so when the time comes, and they have all this information that Rose is looking for, so Rose, don't spend any more time on it. I can pull it all up for you.
Thank you.
So something to
Are
consider.
they an organization that's pro short-term rental?
They're an organization that it wants fair. They're not against regulations. They're not against short-term rental rules. They just want it to be a fair system.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, so I guess we're moving on to item 8, which is our rules and procedure, and something that you brought up about Burlington, their short-term rental stuff being illegal. I was urged by Martha and by this board last month to send everything that we're sending to the trustees to the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, the lawyers there, and my response I sent them each the separate things, like the employee housing, and then I sent them the conversions, changes of use document. I sent each document separately, and they answered back and said they cannot comment on those documents unless they see the whole village zoning thing, unless they see the whole document, and that they will charge to do that. So I talked this over with Rose and Martha at our Zoom meeting the other day, and so we're not going to get it all legally vetted until we finish zoning, like in January. We finish our grant. We've already spent all our money on our grant, but we finish our grant work in January, and then we'll figure out if our town lawyer is cheaper or if they're cheaper at the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. But this item number 8, rules and procedures, language changes is needed. I heard they did comment on that for me. They said we need to change citizen to resident. But their definition of resident is a lot stricter than what the select board was talking about, because she said you have that document in here that I got from her, the lawyer that commented, and she said right away, you don't need to say all that because the word resident means all that. It means you're a permanent resident of your town. And I took from the Vermont tax tables the definition of resident. You qualify as a Vermont resident for that part of the taxable year during which you are domiciled in Vermont or you maintain a permanent home in Vermont and you are present in Vermont for more than 183 days of the taxable year. And then I put down the definition of domicile shall mean a person's true, fixed, and permanent home. It's a place in which one intends to remain indefinitely and to which one intends to return when absent. And Rose wrote my whole email out here, but I thought that was interesting that. And also Rose has another definition at the bottom from the Cornell Law School of domicile. I mean, how am I saying it? Domicile? Getting late, I guess. It refers to someone's true, permanent, principal and permanent home. In other words, the place where a person has physically lived, regards his home, and intends to return to
as a currently residing elsewhere, determining where a party is domiciled is of a particular importance in the field of civil procedure.
So then the language would be changed to at least 4 members of the commission shall be residents of Ludlow.
Shall be residents of Ludlow. And she said we
Period.
don't need to say that they're on the voter checklist because that's understood by the definition of resident.
But it's not unless you define it and you say what a resident means.
What
I
I'm
would
gonna,
think.
what
So
I'm
why don't
gonna
we-
suggest is that we define it right in our rules and procedures. And we define domicile also. We define those two, we define both those two things.
Wait, so why do we need domicile?
Well, because it's part of the definition of resident.
Oh, you
It says you are domiciled in
Oh, I
Vermont,
apologize, got it.
or you maintain a permanent home in Vermont.
I think this domicile definition is just gonna, it's too vague.
Well, the one in the middle,
But-
shall mean a person's true fixed or permanent home is
Oh,
placed.
sorry, as opposed
Yeah.
to which one intends to remain indefinitely, which one is.
That was in the
That's
Vermont
what I'm-
tax tables.
That I
defined.
agree with. I think the Cornell one is going to, that's just,
We just want to give you
asking
more
for
than one
litigation.
option.
right.
So what do you guys think about taking off the part about on the voting checklist, changing the word to resident on the membership section of 2.1 of our rules and procedures? And adding the definition for resident and domicile. That's what I'm suggesting we do to our rules and procedures. I was talking to Justin about this and he goes, we had no idea. That's what the state statute said. And that's what it meant.
So do we, I mean, instead of putting all that in there, do you want to just say as defined by the Vermont tax definition and put the citation?
Yeah, we can do that. You guys want to do that?
And then let's not us define domicile.
Yeah, okay. Are we agreeing to that? What do you think, Judy
I think that's fine.
and Rose?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, can we put that in the form of a motion that we're finally finishing our membership section of our rules and procedures? We wanted to get it right.
I so move that we replace citizen and with the phrase shall be citizens on those voting checklist with shall be a resident as defined by Vermont tax definition section blah blah blah.
Anybody want to second that?
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, and the next section on alternate, Andy, I'm gonna throw a wicket at you here, because I'm thinking that Ryan and Judy and I came to that meeting. I know it's the only meeting that you missed. We discussed your concerns, and I just feel like we should stand with what we decided, because we three were here, we made that decision, and I don't want to backtrack and go and change decisions we've made at the meeting. And I'd like to just not change that at all, except change the word, obviously, citizen to resident.
I appreciate that my thoughts were represented, but they actually weren't accurate fully. It didn't give the full story, but
Yeah.
that's your,
And I know it's gonna
that's
bite
fine.
me in the butt someday when I'm not at this meeting and things get decided I don't like, but I just think maybe we have to set that precedent that what we decide as a meeting, we have to keep.
So I'm confused. So we went from, at first it was quorum, but this is what got decided at that meeting, 4.6 alternate?
Yeah.
Okay.
At the discretion of the chair or the vice chair, I like that part. Our alternate must be a resident of Ludlow on the voter check. We can take that off now on the voter checklist because that is assumed that you're a voter in your town. The alternate shall abide by all rules and procedures. Are you guys okay with that?
Was this something that is challenged on a legal basis that they can
No,
vote and
remember
everything?
Allison was here and she pulled up the state
Okay.
charter and she said, it doesn't say anything here about how you can't have an alternate on a planning board.
Okay.
So can we put that in the
I'm
form?
sorry, what was, I missed that. What did you say, Terry?
I said that, I had told Andy at the last meeting that I would put this alternate language that Ryan and Judy and I agreed on at the meeting. It was the only meeting that she missed, and she gave me some information through an email, which I shared at the meeting, but I guess not completely accurately. But I just want to set a precedent that what we decide in our meeting, we don't backtrack on. No matter how few members we
That's the
have.
whole point of,
What?
But I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm not sure that should be the reason not to do this, to say we could never go back. We do this all the time.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying that we've usually established our rules and procedures in April, and it's now
Right.
July, and we're still working on them.
But that's an arbitrary reason. That's not a.
But I think I need to set the precedent that we're not gonna go and change decisions that we've made as a board sitting here. You know, I don't wanna go back next week and change membership again because, you know, somebody disagrees with part of it. Because we're making decisions together here and like I said, I know it's gonna bite me in the butt if I can't attend, but.
I gotta say, I agree with Terry on this one, and I actually thought about that at that meeting. I know school boards, that's considered one of the ethical guidelines of a board, is that when the board makes a decision, the rest of the board will agree to uphold it, even if they voted against it. And as well, so when you have a meeting and someone doesn't show up, if a decision is made by the board, it really should be upheld. Otherwise, you get into the situation of when somebody doesn't like it, they bring it up again and they want to revote and revote and revote. And that's just a big waste of our time. I understand sometimes there's more information that comes up and you may want to change a decision, but overall, as a board, we should function together once the decision is made. That's my opinion.
What was the decision? I just want to know what the decision was.
Well, we were trying to figure out how to, there was nothing in our bylaws about alternates, and we were making up like the definition of how the alternate would function. And Andy wasn't there, and then she disagreed with it, so she wanted to redo it after it was done in a meeting and motioned and passed.
Oh, okay. So, okay, now I know where we are. So did you guys see the resolution that I sent you in the email? I sent you the signed resolution by the select
the select board.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I was trying to say, Terry and I had this discussion, was that, and this is a long one, it's 11 by 17 or 11 by 14 or whatever it is that, you know, when the selectmen, you know, it's fine to have, you know, the state statute says that you can have the one from out of town and he's a non-voter, and that's great. So we have Ted. And then, but it doesn't say anything about an alternate. So then when they put Steve on the board, they should have like signed another resolution that allowed for alternates. So right now you have 5 members that that's what the board is, because we dropped it down from 7 to 5 because no one was showing up for the planning commission, you know? So I was saying that we can just write a new resolution, have the board sign it, and then it's fine. We just put it in the vault and we're good. And but sometimes we have to do that before the Board of Selectmen does stuff like this. I wasn't back yet, and I apologize, you know, that I was out, but it's very easy that I can write a new resolution and get this signed by the Board of Selectmen at their next meeting, you know, have them sign it, and then, you know, all is good. But that's all I was saying, is that sometimes we can't just do these things willy-nilly. We have to do it first and then have it done. So.
Yeah, well, what we were trying to do, Rose, was just define how the alternate would, when the alternate would come to meetings or the voting piece of it or whatever. That's all.
Right. So I can tell you.
You're right. It should be done by the select board.
Right. Well, I can tell you in the past, for the DRB, who's always had alternates, same way, is that when people were not going to make a meeting, they would contact me in the office and they would say, I'm not going to make a meeting. And then I would call the chairman and I would say, so-and-so or so-and-so is not making a meeting. And we would make a decision at that point if we were going to call up an alternate, depending on what was on the agenda. That's how we would do it with the DRB. So I don't know how Terry wants to do it, but that's how we would do it on the DRB.
So I guess I could use some clarification. When we all started talking about this, I thought it was about not having a quorum.
Me too.
So but this has nothing to do with that. That's why this got, and I guess why I'm trying to re-bring it up is I guess my thoughts were given, but not fully, and I appreciate that electronically you can't give everything. So we sort of morphed into something very different. I mean, anyone not coming means.
When you don't have a quorum.
Yeah, I mean, with not having a quorum, very important.
It doesn't say that in here, though. She's right.
Right, very important to have.
I kind of thought it did say that in here.
Yeah, so I'm just, my concern was that if one person doesn't come and you have an alternate and then that's it's a 3-2 vote, but, someone's not here at every meeting with us, that's I don't think that's a good way for us to meet and to operate. I think that not having a quorum, of course, then you're unable to do your function. I totally agree with the alternate for that. But
Ted,
this
what do you
is.
think?
I think it's about the quorum.
Me too. Ryan, what do you think?
I don't know any reason
Judy,
why I would look at
did you hear that?
I did.
If we add the word, if we're not having, if there's not going to be a quorum.
So if it said an alternate will be activated by the chair or vice chair to fill in for a regular member who is unable to participate in a meeting, which would result in the lack of a quorum.
Yeah.
Yes.
We need to add that.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
And then we could take out at the discretion of the chair or vice chair, because you're figuring that out anyway, right?
I think so. Right, because right. So
and the alternate must be a resident, not a citizen of Ludlow. Is that right? Are we using resident?
Yeah, we need to change that to resident for sure.
One question though, do you want to keep in the discretion only because, let's say only, you might want to not have the meeting because none of us can come. Well, obviously one wouldn't make a difference, but there are times where you want to say, Terry, you might want to say like, okay, let's move the meeting rather than forcing, forcing the alternate. And it's doesn't have to do with the alternate. Well, I guess you'd have to say, well, I guess you would.
I only want to add the word quorum.
It's fine.
Add
and citizen to
I got to pull it up because somehow my computer froze and I lost it.
Carrie?
Yeah.
Steve wants to say something.
Steve, go for it.
I feel like there's been so much time, and whether we're using me by name or not, if the amount of time spent on this so far, if it's easier for me to step out and rerun next time I can be appointed, then I'm more than happy to do that. But I feel like I want to be involved in this. That's why I'm at every meeting. That's why I'm at every other meeting. And that's why I've been involved in the town for a while. But the amount of time that we've spent on this, I feel like I'm dragging an anchor for things that could be moved on and sped up. So if that's the case, let me know, because I don't want to be an anchor to this board.
Yeah, that's not the case the way I see it.
Me neither.
Okay, so let's see. An alternate will be occupied by the chair or vice chair to fill in for a regular member who is unable to participate in a meeting at the discretion of the chair or vice chair.
No, I would say so. If you do unable to participate in a meeting, thereby preventing a quorum.
Okay, so that's where we change it. Thereby preventing a quorum, and then we're changing. How do you spell quorum?
Quorum.
At the discretion of the chair or vice chair, it must be a resident of Ludlow. Okay, can we get a motion on this? Put it to bed.
So moved.
So moved. A second?
Seconded.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I shall tell our friend Jared, we have finished our rules and procedure, and we will sign them all. And you can run them off, and we can sign them all. I'll send you this tomorrow, Jared. Okay, before we, wait, I just want to make sure we're following here, because it's really late, and I want to just look at where we're at. All right, so next month's agenda, planning, August. Obviously, we have a whole bunch of stuff I wrote down here. I'm gonna revisit. Martha's gonna change all the zoning to agree to the state housing bill, mandatory things. We're gonna take a look at that. She's gonna put them all in yellow or red so we can see exactly what changed. And we'll start a discussion of short-term rentals. And we'll hold off on all these definitions and stuff for that chart.
Short-term rentals is gonna be multiple meetings.
That's gonna be a lot, yeah, it's gonna be a lot. I kind of asked Justin what he would suggest we start with, and he said he would start with the application. And I know we developed one, Ryan, when I was on the board with you and Ted and Alan Couch and Alan Isaacson, so maybe we could like take a look at that and then look at everybody else's, and obviously we have to have the language and regulations to go with it, but
Just gonna say,
it's a starting place.
yeah, I think there's a few different things we have to consider from starting, where we're starting at. So, rules and regs, deterrents, and then formulate an application based on what we feel, how that should be handled, because.
Yeah, I think you're right. Start with rules and regs, because he was telling me all about Granicus and how, they're very strict about that. It all comes from complaints from neighbors, and you have to pay huge fines if you don't comply, and it makes every single person register. They have some very strict guidelines and stuff that sounded like.
The guidelines that they would enact would be the guidelines we set.
Right, exactly. He said we should set the guidelines.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's next month. Comments from citizens, and George, I definitely want to hit you up because I didn't feel like we ignored you.
That's okay. No, I just wanted to, like on the DRB, the alternate is really used only if you don't have a quorum, because in the DRB you're a quasi-judicial board, and that if you use the alternate, the decision is, that alternate is then carried forth through that entire case. Whereas your regular member could just read the minutes and then be used at the next meeting, where you guys aren't really
a judicial board.
So the difference in the alternate is a little bit, I know we kind of compared it to the DRB, but in a way, the DRB is very different than that.
Yeah.
So like, the decision to include someone's opinion is, if you're a board member, obviously they have more sway than someone from the public per se, but like I just wanted to make sure that you guys agreed on some language, but the comparison is similar but different.
Yeah.
So I know it was being kind of directly compared. So.
It just felt like at that select board meeting, it was like, if you were there, you got appointed. Like there was that one lady that put an application and she wasn't there, and they're like, oh, she's not here? We don't want to appoint her. That's how it, it just seemed like it's more strict than that with the state.
Yeah, if there's no one who's written in other than one person, it's kind of hard to, at the behest of the select board, I guess they could not fill all positions, but that would only challenge the board.
Yeah, and the stuff that the lawyer wrote too said that the select board makes ultimate decisions. It's in their hands.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. I can send you this. I don't know if Rose already gave it to you, but.
It's okay.
Okay.
I get a bunch of emails with stuff.
Okay, do we have, do you really? Just a few, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, do we have any other comments from citizens? Eric, go ahead.
Just a point of order, just to remind the board, if you're following Robert's rules, there are 6 points to a motion. This board seems to skip the point that is the discussion part. So after you make your motion in your second, you should be calling for discussion. And you haven't done that today, you sort of flew through it. So I had some discussion on the rules and procedures, because there wasn't any mention of what you're doing with that extra member, so to speak. Did you drop that requirement that they have to be a resident of the town next door, or it didn't seem like there was any conversation of that? You sort of flew right through that.
No, we kept that they have to be a resident of the budding town. And she was clear in the lawyer's notes too, that was language that was.
She was clear that that's a decision that this board cannot make. That's a select board decision.
That's a state rep. think is about the neighboring town.
Yeah,
It's a state reg.
it was part of the state statute, but it had to be of an abutting town, a neighboring town.
No, that's incorrect.
That's not what she said. She quoted the state statute right in her email.
In the highlighted piece says that.
Yeah,
there's a portion that only the select board can make.
Yeah, it does say
this
that.
board.
At the bottom part, she said that the only selectmen can make, but she said they also have to follow the state statute.
The state statute does not say that it has to be someone.
She quoted it, the state statute in her email. I was trying to find it. I mean, I have it.
Clarification, because you sort of skimmed over that, so I didn't hear what, if you guys were going for it, that was part of the motion. Because the motion was to accept the resident piece of it, I didn't hear the piece of the motion on the second paragraph of that.
Yeah,
We didn't change that.
but Eric, I think Eric's right, that in the highlight it says it says if the select board wants to consider only a non-resident who is a resident of an abutting town, they can decide that, but it wouldn't be something the planning commission's rules of procedures would dictate.
Right, they can ignore this rules and procedures of the town and of us and do what they want. That's what that says in VSA. But I don't see where it says anything about how that person. Planning commission shall have not less than 3 or more than 9 voting members. All members may be compensated and reimbursed by the municipality for necessary and reasonable expenses. At least a majority of the members of the planning commission shall be residents of the municipality.
Yep. If the select board wants to consider only a non-resident.
Right, if they want to.
Yep.
But the state statute does say residents, clearly.
So if there can be up to 9, why am I an alternate?
Well, because they reduced our number to 5 when we couldn't get enough people on the board.
You can't have a board with an even number.
In theory,
No, in
Tonight.
practice.
or 2, it says up to 9.
But the real reason is that they did this resolution back in 2013 that made the planning commission 5 people.
Yeah,
So they would have to make another resolution to change.
right, so that would fix that problem.
Or if it's not 5 people.
And Rose is gonna work on that with them.
So, Chairman, just to finish my point, that is exactly my point. They had to lower it because they couldn't get enough people. So, 2 things.
We can't hear what the audience is saying. I know that I can see Steve doing what I'm doing.
Can you come up to the mic, Eric?
We got to fix.
Now that the meeting's over.
No, not over yet.
So 2 points. The select board made that resolution for a reason, because they couldn't get enough people to fill these positions. So back to my original point, I haven't heard a reasonable explanation of why you want that language in there. And again, I think it's short-sighted to make it more difficult for someone to participate in this board, especially when you have the protections from the state statute that it would always be a majority of residents. That's all.
Well, thank you for your comments. Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'm sorry, can we just, the committee comments?
Yeah, go ahead, committee. Oh, I meant to ask you guys first too.
No problem.
Committee comments.
One, I implore you and us to talk to the town about our internet and Zoom issues. It should not be up to us
Yeah,
and up to you to figure out technology of the meeting. I think the town needs to have someone that does this so that we can start on time and have people involved. It shouldn't be you. And
Yeah.
it shouldn't be us. We're pretty much volunteers.
yeah.
So that's my first one.
I'm just saying, I just want to comment on that the town is up to its ears in flood stuff right now, and it's probably not the best time to approach with that issue, but I
Understood, but it's been an ongoing
Yeah, it
issue.
has been
And it's not fair to you, and it's not fair to us, it's not fair to the
I don't
town.
have a problem with it at all.
Well, but it's,
No, these technological issues,
I have a
they're
problem with that,
absolutely
yeah.
hindering
That's what I'm talking about.
our
Delayed our meeting and
ability to
everything,
do
yeah.
our
yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
the
get
other
that.
thing is, I know for me, it would be easier. I spent hours today just going through all the emails since the last meeting before even starting to review.
It was a lot.
And documents are coming multiple, and I so appreciate that. I know you put out the draft agenda and you copied us. when stuff was going to then go into the package. But then I have 2 documents, and then I know we had one time an issue that there were 2 different versions. So I would ask that unless there's a correction to something, that could we just get one thing? And this was great having everything. I would just, I don't know, Rose, if you put this together, if we could get the minutes with it too.
It's great to have Rose back.
But Rose, this was phenomenal to have this like this. Thank you. We've been missing you not having this.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, yep.
And then
I'm gonna try to get those to you guys a little bit sooner.
That would be great.
The agendas need to be posted the week before the meeting, and that's something that we're gonna have to accomplish.
Yeah.
Or the packet will get to you sooner.
And can we just get the packet, not all the potential documents that will go into the packet?
Right, exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Because some of them are in the packet, some of them aren't.
Right.
So Andy, also, before this, went through all those emails, and a majority of what's in those emails isn't in here.
Yeah.
So, just the packet.
That's my bad. The regional, they were on vacation. We couldn't meet until Thursday, so that's why I got delayed this time.
And it's very much appreciated. I normally like over communication rather than under, and this was an odd situation.
Yeah,
but this is now we have more help with Rose, and we'll be able to get stuff out.
It was very helpful.
Yeah.
And Jared, you were very helpful too. Jumping in like you did, that was amazing.
Thank you, Jared.
Any other comments from my committee members? Judy, you got anything?
I have a motion to adjourn.
Oh, thank God.
I second that motion, but is there a need for discussion?
That's Robert's rules.
Any discussion?
What?
Carrie, I just want to tell you, whatever you're going to send down to our office, please send to me, okay?
Yeah, I will. I got that. I'll definitely send it to you.
I guess
and a week ahead of time. I took advantage of the fact that Diane said I didn't have to post the minutes until 48 hours before this time, just because of the, because I couldn't meet with regional till Thursday. So I took advantage of that this time.
But I, as a citizen and a board member, I hope everybody is safe from the floods. This was awful, and thank the town, the residents, and the officers and the volunteers of all that they're doing. It's
every time I see Brandon, I'm just like, oh my God, what you must be going through.
It's I have to say, I don't come from a small town, and it's beautiful to see the small town in action and neighbors helping neighbors.
It really is. He's so optimistic and up about it all.
Can I also add?
Abby?
I just launched a fundraiser today of a t-shirt, sweatshirts, crew necks that I designed, and 100% of the proceeds are going towards the Vermont Rescue Flood Fund. So it's for the entire state, and that fund looks at organizations and nonprofits that really need it. So it's on Okemo Locals page. It's all over my Instagram, Wavy Grape. I've posted it pretty much everywhere, so you can find it. But I can send it to anybody.
I didn't know you were a designer. Very cool.
Yes, I'm a graphic designer by nature.
So I do go on Okemo Locals just for the interesting quality of it.
Thank you.
It is. Is there anything else? I say we are officially, all those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
I say we're officially adjourned. Thank you so much.